reflect and give some feedback to each other. How have you felt over the last 2 sessions? Because we talked about feedback earlier.
Well, it's a little bit nervous. I've never done anything like this before, but no, it's fine. I've met you on umpteen occasions, Martin. So yeah, I have.
This is all about building trust in a relationship.
Of course it is.
And I think networking and what you do is all about building trust.
Of course it is. And I think you should be prepared to talk about who you are, what you are, where you're from.
But I admire you for being brave enough to come along and do it.
Thank you.
But I also think, and you talked to me and you said to me, and you're absolutely right, this is about the world for me of opportunity.
Yes. Yeah. It's about looking at, not being afraid to look at new things, new opportunity.
I think the visual, the image world, and the fact that we consume so much of it is just extraordinary.
Absolutely. And we consume it in different ways, don't we? On iPads, on the train, on...
I think to myself, I just think it on a personal level, and I can reflect. 2 things I'd say to you. First of all, about the visual world, which hit me, and it may be because I'm a bit older, is that I look back, and if I look back at my family and the family history, and particularly my kids, and I look back, all the photographs I've got actually get cut off at about 5 or 6 years old. And that's because we didn't have a mobile phone.
Yes.
And people didn't take photographs.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, when my dad passed away, I got all his slide collection. Do you remember slides?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Which they are taking forever, literally forever to go through. Yeah. And you spend a lot of time looking at them going, where's that?
I know.
What is that?
I think the visual bit about the way that we live and capturing it, either on video or on film. I mean, I grew up in an era where people had cine cameras and would take all sorts of...
Yes.
Here's an actual cine film of you running around when you're 3 years old or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And photographs of being on holiday.
Yes.
And it goes to an excessive level because one of my relatives works and he lives his life on YouTube all the time.
Right.
And if he arrives and gets out of his car, the first thing he does is to get his camera out and start filming, because his life is all about creating content.
I have a YouTube channel. We have thousands of subscribers, but I'm not that addicted.
No.
I would have to
He's become addictive because he's earned a living.
Yes.
His entire life is dominated
but we
by
consume
content.
We consume in a different way, didn't we? I mentioned earlier that I was 7 hours coming back from Bristol Airport, something that should have taken less than 3. And what did I do when the traffic's not moving? Let's find a podcast to listen to. So I listened to umpteen different podcasts because it was there. If we'd gone back 20 years, I would have just had, half a dozen radio channels, wouldn't I?
I must admit, actually, it's quite interesting because once you get into it and begin to understand it, and once you start looking and you look at podcasts in particular, which is what I guess spurred me, was that when I was in Australia, having just been to Australia and been there about a month to go to the rugby, right, and staying at my son's, they're working, I've got time in the day, all sorts of things I could do. Most of the places in and around where they live, I've been to already. Didn't particularly want to drive around and just be on my own driving around. But I spent a long time, when I could, sat in the sun enjoying podcasts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I just learned so much. I actually accelerated my rate of absorption and learning. I love listening to the different points of views and the discussion and the debates.
Yeah. But then, of course, you have to challenge yourself, don't you? You have to listen to things, people that you wouldn't necessarily listen
Controversial sometimes, but I don't think I'm that challenging at all. I don't actually want that controversy. There's some people who I won't listen to. I'll turn it off as soon as they come on.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
So I do censor it, but I can self-censor it.
Absolutely.
I can decide myself, I'm not going to listen.
Yeah.
It's like that occasion where you go out to social functions and somebody starts talking to you and you go, mentally you're going, I'm not listening to you at all.
Yeah. Yes.
I think there are big, big challenges. And the biggest challenge, I think, and I'm just trying to stand back and look at your world and about what's going on, is the biggest challenge in every organisation that I've ever worked for or in has been about the managing of the people within their organisation.
Yeah, I think that's twofold, isn't it? So yes, that's very true, but I also think there's confidence, and we mentioned that earlier. Confidence that comes from a higher level. We work with an environment with small aspirational businesses, and they are very susceptible to changes from higher up, big customers, big suppliers, changing how they work, changing how they operate, and that comes from government.
Do you see the owners and the people who are the movers and shakers and drivers, and they're highly entrepreneurial, that their confidence gets diminished over
Absolutely.
time?
Yeah, the confidence gets diminished. You see hours being cut back for staff, which means they then cut back on other things because the confidence is diminished. And as we said earlier, the budget in next month, whenever it is next month, confidence is the most important thing.
I think the confidence is really important, but I also think confidence and control are so critical, because quite often when you're running a business and you're managing a business and you're looking at it and you're looking at things like all your overheads and fixed costs, you have no control as to those, and suddenly it's become more and more and more expensive, and you have no choice.
Absolutely. And who pays the bill?
Yeah. How do you pay the bill?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I sat here with a guy talking to him about the work that he does, and interestingly enough, and you'd relate to this, he works and runs for a charity, and he was talking about it, and his biggest fear and his biggest worry is that they go broke.
Yeah. Which as a business owner is something you carry with you all the time, isn't it? I mean, many years ago, I worked in sales, and I used to be concerned that you're only as good as your next sale, effectively, aren't you?
Yeah.
But actually, as a business owner, you carry so much more with you, your costs, what's coming.
But you also are so intimately and intricately involved in the lives of whoever these people are.
Absolutely.
And they are your company.
Yes.
They are what you're about. I used to go, when I go back to Planter Box, used to walk into Planter Box, and I've said it before, but the relationship with those people was truly extraordinary. First of all, I used to walk around and say hello or good morning to all the people. And because what they do in Romania is that they shake hands, I had quite a few guys who came from Romania. We'd actually shake hands and say hello. And I just thought it was a lovely, lovely kind of piece of
Well, this
contact.
is what I try to do in my business network group. Anybody that comes, no matter who you are, welcome you in. Thank you for coming, because I do value everyone that comes, whether you just come once for a look, see, or you come regularly. I think it's
so.
Really
Do you in that reflection, do you spend a lot of time looking in the mirror and thinking, oh, what can I do? What is it that I will do, and how will I do this?
I love watching people. I love seeing how they react. My wife, I've briefly mentioned, is a mudlarker, and so she goes on. She's got a license, I would add. She goes on the banks of the River Thames finding treasure from hundreds of years ago, interesting artifacts, pottery, that kind of stuff. So I more often than not will have a sit in a coffee shop, sometimes with the dog, sometimes by myself, and it's great just to people watch, see how people are, their mannerisms, how they behave. And yeah, I think that's kind of, you imagine where they come, what their life is.
Do you spend a lot of time in that reflection, looking at yourself and thinking, how could I have done that, and how could I have done that differently?
Yeah.
And how could I have done that better?
Yes.
Do you become very, very self-critical of yourself?
Yes. Well, perhaps too self-control. Yesterday I was at a business show, and at a business show you quite often meet people. The last time you saw them was last year. And there was one particular person I met, and I thought, God, you look old. But then immediately I thought, wow, hang on a second. If you look old, what do I look then? But yeah, that is, I think it's important, isn't it, to better yourself, to improve yourself, because when you work for a company, you generally have appraisals and feedbacks and all that kind of stuff. Well, the only feedback giving me is me. The only appraising me is me. So yes, I think that's really.
But also, if you look at that and you use, that analogy that you've just talked about, and about self-reflection, and about, do you give yourself praise? Do you give yourself? You also are driven by how you feel. I mean, for example, in a sales environment, whether you're going to be successful, and and you're very critical about your performance and about what you did and how you did things. Self-reflection is a great tool to use effectively to learn and get better.
Yes. Yeah, and it's about improving things, isn't it? So the business network group's a great example. I think we need to have good coffee and good food, because there were two things I can't change, but I can feed back to the venue. But if it's wrong, I'll get the blame for for it, even though I've had nothing whatsoever to do with it. I didn't cook the eggs, I didn't make the coffee, but I think it's really important, and I've learned now that you need to have a good environment, and you need to be a good supportive environment.
So you would say that what you've learnt most of all is you have to affect the things that you can control and the things that you can change.
Absolutely. And be honest in your feedback. There's been a couple of venues that we've been to, not recently, but I've had to go, I didn't really like the breakfast. What happened? The breakfast I came and sampled, what's happened is we've changed this.
Yeah, okay. So if we look at it, and you look at it and you reflect as well to yourself, having associated with, and over the years associated with all sorts of different businesses in different sectors and so forth, talk to me about what you identify as success factors and those things that have failed and why they failed.
Well, I've always think, I can't remember the exact theory, but you need to fail more times to know how to succeed. So I don't have an issue with failure. We've launched in both the business networking group and the marketing agency I run, we've launched lots of things that haven't worked as well as perhaps they should have. So you can self-reflect, kind of look at why didn't that work? Maybe that wasn't right for that. Maybe that wasn't an understanding.
I always use the metaphor, learning to ride a bike, right? Learning, and it is about learning. Learning to ride a bike is getting on a bike, and then if you fall off it, it hurts.
Yeah.
And when you get yourself back up off the ground, you either get back on the bike or else you don't. But you also learn that falling off a bike is a painful thing to do, so you try and avoid it.
Absolutely.
But if you look at that in businesses, people are not trying to ride different bikes or recognizing that they are different. They're not trying anymore. They give up doing that because they have that voice inside their head that's going, oh, you'll fall off, it'll be no good, you'll be a waste of time, it won't be any good.
But the issue with that, of course, is right back we said at the start when I was at college and they had a typing pool. Well, those typewriters are now something else now, aren't they? They've all been crushed, recycled, whatever. Things move on, technology moves on, life moves on. And I need to be very aware of that. We've mentioned AI, which is just bizarre, because the opportunities and the power that's going to give. My concern is it'll vanillarize. I've made up a word there, I realise, but it'll vanillarize stuff, because if we all use AI to do the same thing, well, surely it's all going to give the same responses, isn't it? Or very similar.
Well, it's interesting, actually. Somebody was talking about the fact that they had so many applicants for a particular job, and they guessed that AI had been part of it, because quite a big percentage of the applicants to the questions they were asked had answered them in exactly the same way.
There you go. That's prove the point.
But I actually say to you as an English teacher that I could look at somebody's submission and not be able to necessarily discern what was AI and what wasn't.
Yeah, but I think we're probably in the very early stages.
I agree. I think it's becoming ever more sophisticated by the moment.
And that is without a doubt, that's going to change how we operate. I mean, if I think right back to sort of 99 when I started in the internet industry, you were having to sell people our website. Why do I need one? And then we went through, everybody wanted one. It was great. I was single at the time. Everybody wanted everything, so I had a great time. Made lots of money, loved it. But then we had the occasion where people would go to the subcontinent to get their website done, and you could so clearly see it because there were spelling mistakes in it. It just didn't look right, and that's obviously common sense has prevailed now that if it's got to be done, it's got to be done properly. Otherwise, it reflects bad on you and bad on your business, and they are challenges. And we will, as humans, we will react to those challenges. And
I still remember, which is very salutary for me, the guy who was at the beginning of creating AI, turned around and said that his daughter worked in a department dealing with complaints, and they just take a complaint, and her job now involves taking that complaint, feeding it into AI, and then getting a response and sending it out. And it takes literally 5 minutes to do that. Composing a response and actually going around and trying to find out all the details. Previously, the job she was doing would take well over half an hour. So the saving was utterly phenomenal.
One of my first jobs was the complaints department for the electricity board, going back many, many years when I was I might have still been a student actually, and it would amaze me that people would complain about all sorts of weird stuff. So yeah, but maybe that's a good use.
Well, it is. It's a different kind of way, and I think also the fact is, and I'm sure you now recognise, and I don't know what your attitude towards it is, you're talking to bots.
Yes. Well, I think I always think you want a resolution, don't you? I mean, I recently wanted to. Our broadband and TV bill had gone up and up and up, and I wasn't prepared to pay that. So we went through umpteen bots to get to a human at the end that went, not a problem, Mr. Gleave, I'll sort it for you. So that's what, if it gets to a resolution.
I'm worse actually, because I discovered that when you get a bot and if you keep saying no and you answer no to everything, eventually it defaults to passing you over to a human because it just can't deal with it.
Can't deal with it, yeah. But that's potentially to deal with more stuff. I mean, if you look at some of the videos coming out of China now where their manufacturing plants are dark, because why do they need the lights? They're all robotic, so they don't need humans. They use AI to process various bits and pieces. I mean, that's quite frightening.
People who've dived deep into that Chinese economy and recognise and understand about manufacturing and so forth come back and report two things. The growth of robots and robotics is phenomenal.
Yep.
And the rate of that growth is phenomenal. And it's changing the whole face of it. I think the investment in artificial intelligence and robotics and automation in China, in the way, because we don't really know and we don't really understand, because it's very, very close, and they've kept it very, very close and protected. And it's easy. I found traveling around the world, as somebody who grew up in Hong Kong, right, and actually had a lot of association with the Chinese and the Chinese culture, so saw all the control that goes with their culture and how they behave, because they do control everything, and they're controlling that information. They're controlling the development that's taking place. They allow no access at all.
Yes.
There are no cameras allowed. People are not allowed to see it. I don't think we realise, and we don't realise at all, just how robotic and how AI and innovation is taking place within their culture. I don't know how they produce the stuff that they produce for the price that they do.
Yeah. I mean, we could mention Temu, couldn't we? I'm sure everybody will have ordered stuff from them, that really useful stuff that you didn't know you needed, but you need. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. And that's what I say. I think what the opening ends and where that will take us, who only knows. There were certainly certain jobs that I wouldn't want to be in, because I think they're going to be replaceable, easily replaceable.
I agree.
And you mentioned your sort of complaint handling, that kind of stuff. I was watching a bit of PMQs, and one of the MPs was complaining that one of the sort of complaint groups was giving all their members standard AI generated letters to send. He said, you do realise all that happens is we feed them into our system to send you a standard response. Well, that's just pointless.
It's a game.
That was one of the sort of members' question things, and that's just pointless. That's an utter waste of time, which is a shame, really. So that I think we still need to find that
a balance.
Yes. Which, who and where that's going to come from, who only knows.
So, do you use AI?
Yes, we do. We'd be stupid not to, wouldn't we? We use it. I mean, you can't escape it, can you? On Microsoft, you have Copilot on Google. You have their version chat. Do
your kids use it?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I wouldn't be very surprised if they don't.
In a conversation with my daughter, I could hear this voice screaming in my head, talking about her son. Kind of, is he doing any work? And she wasn't quite sure, and it certainly wasn't an affirmation that he was doing any work at all. But he was submitting the work, and he was doing quite well. And I was kind of going, I wonder how much AI is involved in that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Yeah.
Let me tell you, actually, and it's quite interesting. I don't know. The one thing that I find strange, because I too, like you, am focused about dealing with human beings and the sensitivity and the touch associated with it, is that quite often, if I'm doing something or if I'm using ChatGPT, I had a question to myself: should I say please or not?
That's interesting, isn't it? Should we
So
say?
it says to me, would you like me to do, and it gives me numerous options. Would you like me to do? And sometimes
And
I
you
could
go,
just,
yes, please.
I always go, yes, please.
You'll probably find there's a calculation somewhere that the processing power to register the please
Really?
has cost
Do you
X
think it
amount.
changes its attitude towards me because I say please?
Quite potentially.
I think it's quite
Please.
interesting.
Thank you.
I kind of go, do I say please and thank you? Do I even notice?
I don't know, but I imagine different cultures around the world, you don't need the word please.
No.
It's just yes. Well, exactly. Yes or no. But yeah, I think we're at the cusp of that. We're at the cusp of what it can do, what it can achieve, how it can work. But the only thing I always strikes me is the networking group I run during COVID, we went on to Zoom, which was great. But actually, I can remember the first meeting back from Zoom where people actually got to meet other people.
Right.
It was phenomenal.
It is innovative and it is also groundbreaking. But it, to me, has reached the stage of going, okay, so what is the next stage?
Yes.
Where does it go from here?
Yes.
And I think one of the things that we need to explore is why I'm doing this in a way is because I love doing this. This is like a drug for me. I love being involved in these. I really do, because I'm fascinated by people, what makes them tick, what motivates them, what actually gets them up and out of bed, and why do they do what they do? Why do they risk everything? Like,
Absolutely.
I listen to people talking about what they've done, and they've risked their house as collateral in the deal that they're actually doing. They've borrowed phenomenal amounts of money. They're living in huge debt. They are utterly, utterly exhausted trying to make whatever it is that they're doing work. And I go, why?
Yes.
Why are you doing that?
Yes.
Why are you? And yet a lot of people, when I see a shop opening and I see someone they've taken an enormous risk in terms of doing that.
Yes. But with the risk, they're obviously looking at the potential reward.
Okay. Do people always do it for the reward?
But the reward might not be financial.
No, it may not be. And I think we need to take that out of the
Yes.
equation.
Yeah.
Because it may be that we do a lot of stuff because I just want to do it. That's
Yes.
what I want to do.
Or I want to support a business of people within it, and I'm prepared to continue.
Being prepared or getting to a stage in your life where you're prepared to give up your time and your energy and sometimes spending money helping to support other people
Yes.
is something everybody can do and is capable of doing, and I believe actually wants to do it.
Yes. Yeah, I think by and large, perhaps when you're younger, you're motivated by the pounds. But when you're older, other factors come into play, don't they? You get more mature and get more aware that there are other things that you can get out of it. Like we've mentioned, the business networking group I run, I get a massive kick out of seeing people. We have a session towards the end where people will have a one-to-one with somebody. And there's, 15, 20 one-to-ones happening, which is fabulous, I see everybody talking about everything and everybody getting, are you this, are you that? Fabulous. I get a big kick out of that.
Do you think the people who go understand how much of a kick you get out of that or not?
I don't know. I would. A vast majority of them probably don't care. So yeah, I
think they do care more than you actually probably appreciate.
It would be nice to think so, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
I think actually.
Certainly, I think we've been going for that long that I must be doing something right.
So here, let me ask you a question, which is probably the most leading question of all. Having gone through a couple of episodes of this podcast, why would you encourage other people to do this?
I think you've got to challenge yourself, and you've got to challenge what you do, and you've got to look at new opportunities for you. Because at the end of the day, people buy people. We've all been to a shop, haven't we, where someone has been really, thanks for coming in. See you again next time. That to the people that go, who are you?
Have you then, as a result of this, learned something about yourself or learned something about what you do? Will you go and do things differently?
It would probably enhance what I do. I have to be honest, because I'm always quite a verbal person. I'm quite happy to talk and meet and greet, and I've met all sorts of people. I met, and my wife would tell you the story. We were in London at the time, at the restaurant on the banks of the Thames by Tower London. There was a yacht parked in front of it. I didn't know it was. So I went into this restaurant to order the drinks, and there was a guy at the bar, and I was talking to him, and I noticed the bar staff were kind of a bit off. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Bought her drinks. The lady brought them out. She said, you do know who you were talking to? I went, no. He said, it was Joe Lewis, the owner of Tottenham Hotspur. I was like, well, no, I didn't. What a nice man. And apparently that was his yacht.
Okay.
And I think that's how you've got to treat people as you would expect to be treated.
But you'd be never impressed by the fact that he had the title or know who he was. It would not have changed how you handled the conversation.
No, not at all.
No, I remember.
Not at all. But that reflects good on him, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
So he's not trying to go, well, I own that yacht. He just was a normal dude.
Perversely, and it sounds perverse, I suppose I've been very fortunate, if I go back a few years ago, of working with some very, very senior figures in big organisations, and I found them several characteristics. First of all, they're lonely.
Yes.
They don't have that socialisation. They don't have that social contact. They're not, and they haven't been in that position. And they have actually sometimes lots of agenda going on and all sorts of difficulties going on in their life, which other people aren't in the mildest bit interested by.
Yes.
Only believe that the kind of issues that they have, like the toilets blocked or whatever else it may be, are just the things that they have to deal with, and that they don't happen to these other people.
I think the problems we've talked about parenting, business. I think it doesn't matter your financial income, who you are. Those are problems you still have.
Yeah, they're challenges, I think.
Yes.
Well, they
challenges
become
good word.
Well, I would call them challenges. They become problems if you don't do anything about them.
There you do.
And you're not. And the only way often is to share with other people. And the one thing they don't do is share.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't say, "Oh, I'm struggling. Can you help me?"
Yeah.
People don't ask for help.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's.
And I think everybody needs that help, and they need that helpline and that support, and they need that capability.
During COVID, I would ring up all the members that came along to the group and ask them how they were and how they were. I can remember some people going, "Why are you calling me again?" Mm-hmm. Okay, so I don't need to call you again, but just to have a chat, because I'm aware that some people, there's maybe just them or them and a partner, they might not have spoken to anybody.
Yeah, I think though, sadly, and I was really, really saddened last night. A couple of things have happened in the last week which have actually improved my education, but also affected me. When I hear and I read that Ricky Hatton actually committed suicide, died by hanging, I kind of go, how tragic that was. How did he get to a position of being so isolated and having to deal with it, whatever he was dealing with, that he did that?
Yeah.
I have another recommendation, and if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend you go and see it. And I also, in passing, would also very, very recommend that Ethan goes to see it as well, who you met earlier on.
Yeah.
I went to watch, there was a film on in Exmouth, and I went to see it. And Jenny, my wife, didn't want to go because she had seen a trailer for the film, and it's called I Swear.
Right.
And it's about a kid who grows up and develops Tourette's and is incapable of controlling his Tourette's.
Okay.
Right? So it has outbursts of language and so forth, and predominantly dominated by the title, which is I Swear, at the top of his voice, or all sort of tics and movements and stuff like that. And we didn't really know anything at all about it. So you look at two things where he comes up against the institutions in our world. The one is school. He actually receives corporal punishment in school, and you watch them use a strap on his hand. And I sat there as an ex-teacher actually wincing.
See, this harks me right back to when I was a teenager, because my dad worked in Nottinghamshire County Council, worked with what it was then referred to as disabled people. So I was a 14 or 15-year-old and he went, right, Al, come and play basketball. So he stuck me in a wheelchair. I was like, yeah, this would be dead easy. And of course, I was absolutely taken apart, wasn't I, by a bunch of dudes in wheelchairs who ran rings around me. And I kind of grew up from then with a
big star,
with a sort of a respect for people who might have ailments, issues, problems, whatever words you wish to call it. And actually, they're just humans at the end of the day. They're human beings at the end of the day.
To watch the film, it really is hugely, for me, it was an enormously emotional film, because his life was such a challenge, and the kind of things that he came up against by this institution called school, right? He had outbursts, did things wrong, not because he intended to do so, but he couldn't control it. And the second organisation that he came up against was the police.
Right.
So he was involved in all sorts of things. So he went on a big night out and so forth, got involved in a fight and a fracas, only because people misunderstood what he was doing. But he eventually, with the police, and he was completely, utterly disrespectful to the police. And so therefore their response to him was one of aggression and the way that they dealt with him and so forth. And there's a lovely, lovely scene in the film where he's walking his dog, and he's out walking his dog, and a police car pulls up and he goes, "Oh my God, no, they're here again," or whatever. And a policeman gets out, walks towards him and says, "You're so-and-so, aren't you?" And he introduces himself and finds out that he is. And this policeman now has risen through the ranks and is a sergeant. And he says sorry to him.
Right. Yeah.
Would we look back and say sorry for things that we've done, the way we've behaved and we've done things?
Yeah. But it takes a big man to do that. To me, I can remember going to the Nottingham Playhouse with my dad and a bunch of his students, and it might have been a pantomime or something. And, they come on stage, welcome to whatever, and welcome to whatever. They said, welcome to, and I can't remember what his group was called. And one of the students went, "That's us, Mr. Gleave." And I at the time thought, "Way, I've been recognised and stuff." And I love that. But I'm aware lots of people frowned on that. You weren't supposed to do that. But I was with this group, and I was quite happy with this group. Don't pick on this group, because they're fine. They were all a bit strange, and they behaved a bit differently, and they had issues, but no, I didn't have.
I think actually there are a lot of people who are marginalised and sit on the edge and are watching what's going on in society and don't know how to be a part of it. But the constant reinforcement about the lack of acceptance of who they are.
But I'm afraid, Martin, that's my biggest gripe. We spend billions killing people. We spend billions waging war. And I'm disgusted that we don't spend money trying to invest in each other, trying to support each other, trying to help each other. We've talked about connecting people. That's what we should be investing in.
I think that capability and that power is within the society, and the resources are there.
It just needs to be invested in.
But you have to have a way of tapping it and mobilising it.
But we need to have, and that's what comes from above, and that's what I think we need to have, those in authority that want to invest into that. It's easy to buy a bomb. Well, it's difficult, isn't it, to go.
Let me take the lessons that you've learned and actually apply those lessons, because in the current situation, I think they're highly applicable. So let me give you an example. I watched a little piece, and it's all over the news at the moment. I don't know why, but people are talking about people who've been saved by CPR, by somebody knowing how to do CPR.
Right.
And I had a conversation with someone, so in two respects. First of all, I talked to someone who was at the golf club, and who was telling me that one of the people at the golf club had a heart attack while he was playing golf, and he was only saved by the fact that an individual ran all the way back to the golf club to go and get the defibrillator.
Brilliant.
And he was very fortunate. There were a couple of medical people on the golf course who started CPR with him, and as a result of that, they saved him, and he lived. The only thing is, in telling the story to me, he told me the ironic end of it was he never, ever came back, and he never said thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, which is so sad.
Yes.
But
I mean, my youngest daughter is she's St John's Ambulance. She's got all the first aid badges, and she's had a big campaign in school that they should teach CPR.
yeah, I agree.
I used to be a beach lifeguard,
Yeah.
and there was an individual. I was in Tesco. I can name the major supermarket. Slipped over on some grape juice or whatever bang the head. So I put them in the recovery position. The ambulance turned up. I explained what's happening, but I can always remember the supermarket first aider kind of hit panic mode. It's fine. It's fine. Let's just be calm and cool and collected about that. But yeah, but why? And that comes back to thinking, why aren't we investing in stuff like that?
I don't know. I mean, if I could start a campaign, which I would do, I'd almost start a campaign tomorrow. If I go back a long time ago, actually, I was talking to my wife last night. It's much, much longer than I realised. Probably 30 to 40 years ago. I remember I was teaching, and I read a piece about a campaign that ran in America. And at the same time, I used to run a big adult education centre. and I read about a campaign that was run in America where they actually went round and taught CPR to people to save people's lives. And I thought, what a neat idea. Brilliant. And I created a campaign. I didn't realise it at the time, but I created a campaign and I printed all these leaflets and put them out all over the place called Heart Stop.
Right.
And I was fortunate because I had a big adult education centre and people went out and put them out all over the place. The next thing is the Derbyshire Times comes up. Local teacher says, don't run for an ambulance, start doing CPR. Because, and they were accusing me of being, first of all, not medically qualified, which was the attack line. And the second thing was, why are you telling them to not go for an ambulance? Why do you think they should go and start CPR? Because the statistics are really alarming. Even if you know how to do CPR, only about 1 in 10 people will survive it. And unless you've got a defibrillator at hand, they're unlikely to survive it.
Yes. Yes, yeah. But simple, I mean, I was a lifeguard, and simple first aid is raising stuff above the heart and putting pressure on the wound and all.
Anyway, so I ran my little campaign. I ran my little campaign, and I still remember in the little campaign putting it out, and then I get invited to go into Radio Sheffield because I was teaching in Sheffield at the time, and I went into Radio Sheffield for an interview, and the local guy, I knew what he was going to do before we even got there. He's going to go after me, all right, about my medical qualification and was I qualified to actually talk about it. And on the way there driving, I'm kind of mentally rehearsing what may happen. So he said to me, if I was to collapse on the floor now, what would you do? Would you come over and start doing CPR? So I answered the question by saying to him, well, first of all, I'd just find out and just do a few little things just to check. Was your heart beating? Are you still breathing? And so forth, before I did anything at all. And I then said, it could be because you had fainted from being in my auspicious presence. To which he didn't laugh at all, but all the technicians who were behind him thought it was hilarious. Yes. So I remember walking into the staff room and everybody applauding and going, oh, what an amazing thing to have done. It was an amazing situation. And I watched the television last night about people talking about it, thinking, we need to get it out there. People need to be taught. And it won't happen unless I do something about it. I know that, even within my local community.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you.
We have got that control to change things. And I think some of your frustration about the leadership, we have that ability to change. Yes. We have that ability to communicate the need and the desire to get things differently.
Yeah, and that comes from confidence that we're going down the right route, confidence that we're doing the right thing, confidence that actually...
Well, it's confidence, control and communication.
Yes, yeah.
We need to make sure that we confidently step forward, that we control what's happening and we communicate to other people, why are you doing what you're doing and what are you doing it for?
Absolutely.
We can do that, though, with your network group, can't we?
Well, let's hope so.
Right, so your next network meet could be that you actually teach them to do CPR.
Well, I wouldn't be able to teach them, but yeah, that's a good plan.
You could get somebody in and you could tell them why you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It wouldn't be that
great
complicated
idea
at all.
I'm sorry,
it wouldn't be that complicated.
No, it's not CPR, isn't it? Roll people on the ground. Yeah.
I mean, when I actually opened the doors for the very first night that I ran this, there were 100 people at the door.
Yeah.
Which was incredible. In my adult education centre, so I had bodies all over the place, mannequins, doctors speaking.
I took my daughter to one, and the funny thing was I can remember looking up and everyone singing the Bee Gees, aren't they? Staying Alive, which now you're supposed to pump you up, which I thought was remarkable. You got like 20 people all singing, all out of tune, obviously, but... Yeah, I think that's a frustration, isn't it? Because we should be doing stuff like that. We shouldn't even be talking about it. That should be happening. That should be happening in schools. That should be happening in education. Businesses should want to be doing that, and that's where we should be spending time.
It always doesn't amuse me. It makes me think in a kind of different ways that when people they open a meeting and go, oh, we'll just here are the fire exits. This is what you need to do in the event of a fire. But they never talk about if somebody had a heart attack or where's the defibrillator.
Well, people do that because of insurance.
Okay.
So you need to tell people, because if there was a fire, well, they didn't tell me where the fire exit was, which is the sad state of affairs we live in. But yeah, mate.
I think
maybe I'll add that to my thing. The defibrillator, if you want it, is X, Y, Z.
I think actually that would be great. And if we need to do, if we need to do that, in terms of that, I'll support you by getting somebody who's capable of actually doing that, because we need to do the training. We need to actually show those people, and we need to get them to be the communicators who go out into the community, the business community and their own personal community they're a part of, to hand on that information, that message.
And why it's important.
Yeah. I mean, you've got all the connections, and you have connections, and you're great at connections. You could go out and get St. John's and they would come and help and support you do that.
Let's hope so.
No, they would.
Yeah, that's good.
Or if not, somebody local will do it.
Yeah.
That is available, and that training is available.
I mean, I think with business networking, it's always important to not always just have a business person talking. It's about having somebody that empowers, that improves. I had someone early last year who was talking about data protection.
Yeah.
About the data you hold on your phones. If it's customer data, do you hold it? And people going, I don't know. Do I? What have I? Well, if you do, you're in breach of this. If you do, have I? And that put a real cat amongst the pigeons, because people, and I think that's quite.
I mean, the two
powerful.
big agendas for business for the future are data and energy.
Yes.
The two things, and the two most critical factors of all.
It's a shame we don't have time to talk about my love of solar power, but yeah, that I would agree with that.
You can do a 1 minute advert for solar.
1 minute advert during lockdown. I put solar power on my shed. Oh my God, phenomenal! Free energy. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you? The only time it doesn't work is when they're really cloudy, overcast, which we do get quite a lot of, but the rest of the time it works a treat. But also, bizarrely enough, when it's really hot, it doesn't work very well either, which I didn't realise. Mm-hmm. So great experience to doing great. I mean, I cut the hedge and stuff last week. Well, I rolled all the hedge trimmers off solar power. Power the lawn, solar power. You know, it's brilliant in that respect. It's free energy.
Yeah, and I think energy and the conversations around energy, because I was interested last night by her talking and saying one of the big things they're going to do in the budget is to try and do things to reduce the energy bills for people.
Well, that would be good to see, because we have the most expensive energy there is, don't they? I mean, I'm not quite sure why we're the most expensive.
It's been great talking to you, and on a very positive note, just to give some energy to what you do. And in terms of it, I hope you really have enjoyed it.
Very much so.
I hope, more importantly, that we can encourage some of the people who are part of your network to also enjoy the opportunity to be able to talk and discuss, because ideas is what we need to discuss and how we move forward. Ideas,
the future, the challenges, the environment that we face. More than happy.
Okay,
thank you, Martin.
Big round of applause to you as well. Well done. Okay.
Thanks, Martin.
Pleasure. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.